Shalom Aleichem, sweetest friends. So this is Yisroel Meir Kagan, the gentleman that's going through the Concise Book of Mitzvot, Sefer ha-Katzar, with you. And today we're going to, I know it's backwards here for you guys. Today we're going to be going over negative mitzvah, mitzvah lo saseh, number 22. And so we're in this section of talking about avodah zarah, idol worship, etc. And yesterday we talked about the negative commandment of following, of not following after the customs and the statutes of heathens, of those who are practicing avodah zarah. Hey, Sheldon, good to see you here. And so today we're going over Kaf Beis, mitzvah Kaf Beis 22. Mitzvahs lo saseh shelo lishmoa l'miznabe beishem avodah zarah. So it's a negative mitzvah, it's a prohibited mitzvah to listen to somebody who is prophesying in the name of an avodah zarah. And so let's go ahead and continue. Shenemar, as it says, Devarim Yud Gimel Dalet. So in Deuteronomy chapter 13, verse 4, it says, Lo shishma el divrei hanaviyahu. Don't listen to that prophet. Now, Deuteronomy 13 is an extremely, extremely important passage. I think especially as for Yeshua followers and in the milieu of interacting with Christianity as well. So let's back up and take a little bit of a run at and see exactly where the Chofetz Chaim is getting that verse under what context. A lot of times this is the way that biblical commentary is done, is it assumes that you know the context of the passage. So this is, I'll just go ahead and read in English. If there should stand up in your midst a prophet or a dreamer of dreams, and he will produce to you a sign or a wonder. And the sign or the wonder comes about, of which he spoke to you, saying, let us follow gods of others that you did not know, and we will worship them. Do not hearken to the words of that prophet or to that dreamer of a dream. For Hashem your God is testing you to know whether you love Hashem your God with all your heart and with all your soul. Hashem your God shall you follow, him you shall fear, his commandments you shall observe, and his voice you shall hearken, and him shall you serve, and to him you shall cleave. And the prophet or dreamer of dreams doesn't end up very well for him. So, but the idea here is that you should not listen to that prophet, and that is the verse that the Chofetz Chaim is using to base this mitzvah. That is the mitzvah 22 of negative commandments, and 365 negative commandments is mitzvah number 22. Now, what does this mean? This means that even if a person is able to do a miracle, is able to, they make a prophecy, right? And it comes true. However, they're representing gods of others, not according to the Torah, then you shall not only shall not listen to that prophet, but you actually have a mitzvah to stone that prophet if we were have a proper Supreme Court, Jewish Supreme Court, etc., and we had sovereignty, complete sovereignty in our land, etc. Now, going on with the commentary of the Chofetz Chaim, and then we'll make a few comments and we'll be done. Lo ya'arich imo devarim o lish'ol oto et mofes. You should not get into like a long discussion or ask him to, to do some kind of sign or wonder. V'im asaos omofis, but if he does do a sign or a wonder, and the hashgiach alav, then okay, you don't pay attention to it. V'chol hamachshev ba'is shloshama emeshu over belav zeh. And so, whoever thinks of a sign of his that perhaps it is true, violates this prohibition. So a couple very quick comments here. So he doesn't address this idea of listening to only Jewish prophets. So it seems though, it seems both the text and this mitzvah, that the comment on this mitzvah that he's pointing out, is saying if one of your brothers, meaning an Israelite, does this. Certainly, this kal v'chomer, you can say, if this is so, how much more you not listen to somebody who is not of the people of Israel, who specifically is a pagan, decidedly is a pagan. And so this specifically is talking about somebody who is an Israelite, who is Jewish, in our common parlance, as we would say, and who has a sign or a wonder or something of that nature, and it comes to pass. Now, taking it into a messianic context, I think this is an extremely important section of the Torah. Well, why so? Because I would say, if first off, the baseline I think of the messianic movement is the restoring, the restoration of Yeshua, of the Jewish king, the Messiah, the Christ, into the context, into his proper context. So it's kind of like what I like to always say, restoring the Americanism to Abraham Lincoln. The Jewish perspective on Jesus is kind of like saying the American perspective on Abraham Lincoln. What other perspective is there? He's an American. He's an American president. Yeshua is the Jewish king. What other perspective could you have? However, because of all the layers and all the husks, if you will, to borrow from the Jewish mystics, of kind of confusion that have surrounded this whole topic of Yeshua and the apostles and the New Testament, so-called, and all these kinds of things, basically what needs to happen is a restoration of a historical restoration of Yeshua. So I think the foundation of that is that he didn't come to start a new religion. Paul didn't come to start a new religion. And in fact, if that is the case, meaning that the Torah is not valid, that we have a new era of religiosity, the new way to some kind of new religious structure now that the Messiah is coming. If that is the case, then he doesn't pass this test in Deuteronomy 13, and he should be rejected as the Messiah. In fact, he should actually be stoned, according to the Torah. So, to put it bluntly, if Jesus came to start a new religion and saying that the Torah is done away with, he should be stoned. If Paul came to start a new religion and saying the Torah is done away with, he should be stoned. And in fact, this is what the majority of Judaism has said for thousands of years, because it has been packaged that way. And so I think it's very difficult and very, very serious when a person makes that claim that Jesus came to do away with the Torah, or that Paul came to do away with the Torah, or of any nature. That's an extremely serious claim, and I think one that's obviously unscriptural. Now, getting to the whole point of prophets, and so the whole point of prophets and prophecy, I think that it's very important for us to understand, and certain people that, if you're watching this, for instance, if you're in a charismatic environment, that I think it's important to understand a couple of different things. Prophecy was extremely rare in the times of the temple outside of the land of Israel. So outside of the land of Israel is extremely rare, and during the exile, the 70-year exile, it was extremely rare as well. And so it seems to me that I don't know why that we would have a larger expectation outside of the land of Israel when there is no temple, that prophecy would be more commonplace than it was when there was a temple outside of the land of Israel. So then when it was outside of the land of Israel when there was a temple is what I meant to say. And so I think that prophecies, it's not my job to affirm a prophecy that somebody supposedly speaks. It's the prophet's job to prove to me or to convince me why I should listen to that prophet. That is the biblical test of a prophet. And so I think that there is a lot of mischief that happens, and a lot of supposed prophets that unfortunately have all kinds of theological hang-ups and all kinds of heresy that passes for prophecy, and prophets that have heretical views, views against the Torah, etc. And I think one needs to be extremely careful nowadays if they're involved in certain kinds of faith traditions where there's prophecy is kind of more free-flowing, etc., or supposed prophecy is more free-flowing, etc., because it does damage lives for people to listen to so-called prophets who really are not prophets, who are either presumptuous and saying things in their own name, or that, God forbid, their source of prophecy comes from another place. So that's the mitzvah for today. I hope that was helpful for you guys. If you have more questions about prophecy, or if you want to debate some of the things I said, or even ask questions or make comments, feel free to make comments down here. I'll try to get to as many comments as I can, as always. You can go ahead and private message me. You can put a question in the group as well. And so until next time, have a great day in every way. God bless.